believe it or not, your heads-up display or HUD is what ultimately decides just how good you can be at Apex Legends Mobile. If you have a HUD that's clunky, difficult to use, and just overall unorganized, imagine being in a 1v3 situation. You're the last person alive in the squad to clutch the win, but you're struggling to just find where your buttons are on your heads-up display, and you end up catching the L. Yeah, no one likes to be in that situation. So that's why in today's video, I'm going to be giving you all the best heads-up display designs for both 2, 3, and 4 finger players. Also, later on, I'll be giving some tips on how you all can switch to becoming a 3 or 4 finger player, as changing to this claw playstyle will drastically increase your skill. And if you guys are watching this video, it's probably because you want to be a better player. Now, a quick rule of thumb for all the heads-up displays I'm going to be showing you all is they have all been created using the controls interface 2 setting. This setting basically just combines a lot of the clunky UI elements like switching weapons or showing your teammates health. It just condenses them down into a really nice form factor and gives you all more space on your screen, which is perfect for phone players because depending on what device you're using, you might not have too much screen real estate starting off. Alrighty, now let's go ahead and hop into the basic 2-finger heads-up display. And I say basic because for 2 fingers, you're only allowed to use your thumbs with this play style, which means that any buttons at the top of the screen really need to be buttons that you don't access a lot. Things like map or the settings button or the emote button, they could stay at the top of the screen, while all the other important buttons need to be around the middle or the bottom of the screen. So there's really not too much creativity you can throw into this heads-up display, as if you get too creative, it'll probably end up hindering your gameplay, making it worse. So for this style, being basic and being simple is what tends to work best. And well, here is the heads-up display I have designed for 2-finger Apex Legends Mobile players. It's pretty close to what Apex Mobile just starts you off with when you make a brand new heads-up display, but I've resized some of the buttons, moved them around so that the key action buttons are closer together, and some of the less important buttons, they've also been grouped together as well. I will say that though, for any of the heads-up displays you guys decide to copy down for this video, please feel free to make any changes you think need to be made to fit your certain play style. For me, I have my way of making HUDs and the way my buttons like to be positioned and situated. So if you guys copy down the HUD and you really like it, you just think 1 or 2 things need to be changed, then feel free to go for it. Each player has their own preference and play style, and these heads-up displays are really just templates for you guys to copy down and then make further adjustments to. For the 2-finger heads-up display specifically, there are 2 setting options that you can turn on or off depending on how you want to play. They're located in the gameplay section, and you can see them on screen right now. So feel free to experiment with them if you're going to use a 2-finger heads-up display. And one more quick thing, all of the buttons on the right side of this HUD can pretty much be interchanged. If you want to change the fire button with the jump button or the jump button with the crouch, feel free to do, once again, whatever you think works best for your play style. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the 3-finger heads-up display, and this is where things really start to get interesting. Now, if you've ever heard of a play style for mobile called the claw playstyle, that's basically where you're just playing with more than 2 thumbs and you're adding in your index fingers on the screen to play. But the reason this claw playstyle is super beneficial for mobile games, and especially Apex Legends Mobile, is you're able to give this pointer finger a lot of the essential duties your thumbs normally carry out, such as shooting, aiming, jumping, and crouching. This drastically lightens the workload that your thumbs have to do, meaning they can focus more on the movement and more on the aiming, which is the literal 2 main key aspects of Apex Legends Mobile. And so here's the heads-up display I have created for the 3-finger play style. Testing it out myself, honestly, it was really fun, and it kind of made me want to just keep using this HUD and keep practicing this play style because it was really fun, and I noticed how much more fluid my gameplay was compared to the 2-finger play style. If this is your first time switching to a multi-finger heads-up display, then I'm just going to go ahead and warn you, it's going to feel a little weird at first, and it's probably going to take you a few days to get used to it, but over time you're going to build up muscle memory for this heads-up display. And let me tell you, muscle memory is your friend when it comes to learning and mastering new heads-up displays. But if you feel like 3 fingers isn't enough for Apex Mobile and you want to step it up to that last notch on the totem pole, well, then you're in luck, because let's go ahead and hop into the 4-finger ultimate Apex Legends Mobile heads-up display. Now, I'm going to be honest, you can technically play play Apex Legends Mobile on a phone with 5 or 6 fingers, but the people I know who play with more than 4 fingers on a phone, their gameplay and their skill really doesn't take huge leaps like it does from 2 to 3 and from 3 to 4 fingers. So honestly, there's some pretty big downsides that come to switching to 5 or 6 fingers, and they kind of outweigh the positives. So even though I'm a mobile veteran and been playing mobile shooters for years, I'm gonna recommend that you stick at 4 fingers as your max. But without further ado, here is the 4-finger heads-up display I've created for Apex Legends Mobile. Now you'll see that there's actually 2 different shoot buttons. One's on the top left and one's on the top right. The top right one is the shoot button that if you press it down, it'll automatically aim in for you and fire at the same time, while the shoot button on the left is the one it just fires whenever you touch it. Doesn't automatically ADS. And for both the 3 and the 2-finger heads-up display, the shoot button on the right is the one where it automatically aims in for you when you shoot. You can switch this out for all the heads-up displays if you just want to have your main shoot button be the one where it doesn't aim you in. I think though, personally, 90% of my gunfights I'm already ADSing, and so removing that one little step I have to do in order to start shooting and getting into the action, I think it's worth to use this fire button over the other ones. But as you can see about the gameplay, my movement, my aim, everything is just so fluid. My thumbs get to focus on what they're designed to do, moving and aiming, and my pointer fingers can do the rest of the jumping and the crouching and the shooting, which is why these claw playstyles are really overpowered compared to the 2-finger standard. And so I said at the beginning of the video I would give you guys a few tips on how to switch from 2 to 3 fingers or from 3 to 4 fingers. Now the core fundamentals of becoming a claw player is making sure you're holding the phone correctly. This is a little demonstration on how I would position my fingers as a 3-finger claw player, going from 2 to 3, and then same thing from going from 3 to 4 fingers. You basically just want to make sure you have your index fingers resting towards the top of the screen. If your index fingers get too scrunched, then it can lead to bad muscle memory, bad habits, and it can make you end up having some misinputs and misclicks later on down the road. So make sure you try to keep your fingers up towards the top of the screen, and also make sure you'll have a really good line of sight for both the left and the right hand side of the screen. Now if there's one thing that I can tell you guys to focus on when trying to learn a new heads-up display, it is trying to build muscle memory, and there's no way to force it. There is no way for you guys to force your brain and your muscles to adapt to a heads-up display quickly. It just comes down to time and practice. If you end up changing your heads-up display around a ton, then your brain won't be able to build those reflexes that it needs to in order for you to not even have to think about what you're doing. You don't have to look at the screen anymore to press a button. Your body and your hands just instantly react and do what they've been doing in practice. But if you change around your buttons too much and you have to focus a ton on trying to remember where each button is located because you just changed it a few games ago, then your brain isn't going to be able to build that snappy muscle memory, and it's going to have some disadvantages in the long term. So there's nothing wrong with making changes and adjustments to your heads-up display, but try to wait at least a few days in between so that you're not throwing yourself for a loop. That is the best 2, 3, and 4-finger heads-up display designs. If you guys ended up learning something from this video, a like would be greatly appreciated so it can spread around and help other people become better at Apex Legends Mobile. Also, we're really close to 1 million subs, and I'd appreciate it if you hit the sub button as well. With all that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.